gotten a notification that a recording just started.
Yes.
Okay.
I can see that.
Because California is a two-party state. New York famously is not.
Hey, East Coast.
So you have been informed that we're making a recording now.
What?
Okay, so you said introductions, so we should think about introductions. Exactly who are we and what the hell is it that we're doing here? You can go first.
Who are you?
Who am I? Okay.
Yes. Okay. So hi, my name is Amy Pickett, and I am an early childhood education teacher. What are we? We're siblings.
That's one way to say it, yes.
We are educators.
That's true.
My most brilliant brother, Galen, who will speak next, came up with a most brilliant idea. And I said, sure, why the hell not? As long as you carry most of the load. So that's why I'm here.
And so the most brilliant one of us is also the stupidest one of us, who's going to be, editing this together in the end.
Oh.
So I'm Galen Pickett, and I'm an educator just like my sister. But if you looked at our resumes or what our typical day would look like, I'm pretty sure that you would assume that a university professor that's teaching physics has got very little to do with what sort of the day-to-day issues of teaching and learning that a pre-K instructor has got. And Amy and I have been talking about this.
That's wrong.
Yes, we're here to tell you that that's wrong. I mean, there's things that are clearly distinct. Sure, there are. Like me, people ask me if they can go to the potty. And I say yes.
Me, people just go to the potty.
So that is a difference, and that's an important one. But generally, I'm teaching adults, and I'm teaching people that are going to be working professionals, like in 2 months, people with their own scientific careers and families and whatnot. And Amy is right there at the beginning, but there are things about how people learn how to do something that's hard in an environment that's been crafted by a professional, to make that be a successful environment. So we've been talking about this for a good long time, and now we decided to collect some of these conversations. It's probable that there's other educators out there, or people whose loved ones are about to go through some education experience that might find these insights important, useful, maybe entertaining.
Probably entertaining.
I mean, to be fair, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the applause, for the laugh.
I'm here for the bling, bling, bling.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, this is bling. I mean, look at it. Clearly, I don't need any extra.
You clearly don't. I am jealous of your microphone. I'm working on that. I got Paul working on that. I'm like, I feel like I need a selfie light and a microphone. Just like, let's get on that.
So I'm going to maybe find myself some glitter, because maybe that's the one thing my mic could use. Just a little bit of glitter.
I think so, for sure.
So,
okay.
This first topic here, we both wound up doing work that is remarkably similar, but we took remarkably different paths to get to, to what we're doing. So this first set of topics. So episode number 1, I wanted to be a teacher from the day I was born. So there's the question for the both of us. I have certainly heard people make that claim. Amy, did you always want to be a teacher from the day you were born?
Absolutely not. Like 100% no. One, to be totally truthfully honest, I wanted to be the one thing that I only had any success in school, which was theatrics. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be in theater. And lo and behold, I found out through taking some survey in high school that there were actually colleges and universities that you could go to learn about theater. So I was like, sweet. I took it to management and said, this is what I'm going to go to school for. And management said, no, that's not what you're going to do with your life. So I ended up going
by management,
community colleges.
By management, you mean our parents.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Management / HR / parents. They said, no, find something else. And then plus I thought, when I think about it, it's like, why would I want to be the one thing that has caused me a lot of headache and grief in my life? Like, never thought I'd want to be one of those people. So yeah, I know I never wanted to do that. What about you?
So I got to say, and this is something that, particularly the high school teachers who remember me for being in their class, if any of them ever see any of this, they're going to be a little disappointed by what I'm about to say, because I had virtually no respect for any of them. Like, as a student, really? Okay, fine, I'll do your assignments, but I can run circles around you. I know why you're asking me to do this stuff. I really don't want to do it. And I don't respect you at all. Now, that doesn't, so you could think to yourself, okay, so is it just you hate your teachers? You hate the whole idea of teaching, or what? And I don't know exactly where this was coming from. But by the time I had been through my whole first year at MIT as an undergraduate, studying some pretty hardcore physics, mathematics, chemistry, all of that stuff. I was on a People Express flight from Newark to LAX. So People Express, think Ryanair, but cheaper. This was $99, and I had to pay in cash on the airplane.
Wow.
I have no idea what would happen if I ran out of money.
And a pack of smokes.
Could be. But I'm sitting next to some middle-aged businessman who is trying to get back to LA on the cheap. And it's a red eye. It's 3 a.m. We're somewhere over Indiana. And he says, oh, well, so what do you do? Oh, I'm studying physics at MIT. And already I'm beginning to get a little, look a little bit like one of the disciples. So maybe could definitely use a shave and a haircut, but that wasn't happening for another 3 years. So out of politeness, I said, so what are you going to do with your physics degree when you're done? And, such a foreign question. What do you mean when I'm done? I'm young and I have my health. What do I need a job for?
Yeah.
To quote
Jobs
Crazy
are for
Arizona.
suckers.
Yeah, exactly. But what came out of my mouth was the only work that I had seen people do that I could see myself do and thought I would be kind of happy doing. I said, oh, I think maybe I'll teach high school physics. And it's the thing, it surprised the hell out of me. So I knew from that point, that sort of a Rorschach test, that, oh yeah, this teaching thing is slightly different than, maybe I should rethink this whole thing about what I want to do. It's clearly become a really, really important part of my professional life. But I also knew that was something that I couldn't really comfortably share with the people that were teaching me to be a professor. Because if you're going to teach high school, then why are we investing in you, giving you research opportunities and sending you to this conference and that conference? And why am I even dealing with you in office hours? So it's sort of been, harsh. Yeah, it's sort of been like a secret, like a deep, dark secret, like, oh my God, people can never find out that I lick kittens. That's not good. That's not cool. That's for me. That's private time.
Yeah, that's private time.
And I only really got a chance to explore this about what it would mean for myself, not for getting tenure or for career development, or what would it mean to actually do a good job teaching, and why that's important, after I saw for a year a master teacher at the kindergarten level. This is a 2001, 2002 school year. Teach one of my kids how to read and write, basically by giving them free rein and supporting them. And I saw every Friday, I was there for the entire time. So I saw 20% of that entire school year. And that was just that was a change in motivation for me. Not that I'm not going to be a scientist.
Right.
But I am.
Well, not that I'm not going to not be an actress.
Oh, yes, you definitely are.
I'm on stage.
And you people will be applauding every day. I'm going to teach you to do that.
I got the obligatory today, Miss Pickett, you're crazy. I'm like, you have no idea.
And in person, right? There's nothing like in-person crazy, like you have no idea. It sounds totally different on a screen.
Yes.
I like it in a movie. I don't like it in person when someone tells me that.
Exactly.
So we both came to teaching. So how did you, so the next question here that we've got on our, we planned this.
Yes.
And by we, I mean Amy.
Well,
yeah.
I like a script.
So when did you know that teaching was actually for you?
So we have done a lot of conversations around this, because that's a huge question. And I'm going to insert a dreaded, overused term in education right now, but there's a lot to unpack in that question, right? And we've talked about, what makes a good teacher, because when you think it's for you, obviously you've had some success with it, and we'll get to that in another episode. But so I was thinking about it, and really, I think the point that it was clear, I was like 5 years in, I was teaching 4th grade, and this group I had looped with. So I had them in 3rd grade, I looped to 4th grade. 4th grade in New York State this year, it was the high stakes ELA and math tests. So I was working, I had a group of girls that were great. They were awesome. They worked hard, they played hard, like, as hard as 10-year-olds can work and play. And they were just great. And then I go to pick them up from the cafeteria, and some bad things happened in the cafeteria. And usually I'm like, hey, what happens in the cafeteria stays in the cafeteria. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. But it was, I can't remember what it was, but it was bad enough where I had to, like, there had to be some consequence back in the classroom. And it was hard for me. It was definitely a struggle to kind of discipline these girls, because, like, I just couldn't believe that they were just those knuckleheads that did something so silly and stupid.
You mean like you and I might have done when we were kids?
Correct.
Or siblings.
Smarter than me. Why did you do that? So that happened. And what I realized out of that is, those girls learned something that day, that, your teacher can still love you and be invested in you, but she's going to hold you accountable. The rest of the class learned, like, all right, even Miss Pickett's, like, solids are still held accountable and up to the same standard as everybody else in this room. So our environment is, cohesive and intact. And then really what I learned is that, I did have that ability to not just be connected to a student or just teach. Obviously all the reading and the math and the language, all of that, skill is important to teach. But what I realized is I was really connected to them. There was that connection with human beings, and that I'm working with these little humans on much more than reading and writing. Like, I'm helping them understand, like, what it means to have empathy, or how do you solve a problem where it's a compromise? Like, I don't love it, but I can live with it. So all those things. And then that really does play into kind of the theater and the engagement that I like having with people. And so I realized, well, this is for me. I do get to do what's kind of inherent in me, but I get to do it through this thing called teaching. So
several of the things you said are, so instead of having to unpack something, I will explain the resonance of your statements. Yes, similar, right?
Can you spell that?
So 5 years in, it takes a long time to get this kind of feedback from the people you're talking to, not professional feedback from people that are observing you teach, but the people that you are, in your case, you're not just teaching material, you're also helping people become people. And
correct.
And me, yeah. I'm also helping people become the professionals that they're going to become. So there's an element of identity building in there that I was totally unprepared. I had no idea this was part of the job. So in my first semester teaching, so I'm already, it's 5 years since I've had my professional certification to be a physics researcher. So almost at exactly the same time that you got this this insight. This is my first semester actually dealing with human beings, though, not in my research program. And this is a class for people that are going to become K through 6 multiple subject teachers. And this is the only physical science class that they're taking. I took this physical science class maybe when I was in the 8th grade. So from the content of the class, I'm scratching my head. What am I doing here? What exactly? Is this class even taught at this? Why is this class taught at a university? But whatever, I'm being paid to do this, so I'm out. Here I am.
Yeah.
The day before the first test, or the day of the first test, I have office hours just before class time. This 4'0" Latina woman who is about my age comes in, and she sits down and she can't even get her sentence out. Her voice starts to quaver, and I'm just going to fail this test. And she's just crying in my office. And I'm thinking to myself, was there someone here who's going to deal with the tears? Because, this is not my department.
Right. Right.
So, this is, and so, okay, look, this is not the end of the world. I know this is a hard class. I know I see it. You've got your drop form with you right now. And so my advice is let's just take the test. And then, we'll see after I'll grade it this weekend. And then on, office hours on Monday, you come back in, we'll look at your test and then decide if that's the right thing to do. So don't do it just yet. And no matter what happens, if we need to take this class again, we'll take the class again. The point of this class is so that you get a successful experience, so that when it comes time to, it's Friday, there's half an hour left of class, and you can decide to do a science lesson or to do a poem. You can just stick with the science. So you're not going to be afraid of it or feel a little hanky about it.
Right.
You'll put so that calmed her down. She wasn't very happy about it, but calmed down. Grade the test, and she gets a high B. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, a high B. This is an 88. How am I going to explain to she's not getting an A? Let's let this. And then she gets it, and she's just happy as anything. That, okay, you, Dr. Pickett, are not going to stop me. This class is not going to stop me. I am happy as hell now.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I've gotten any better with dealing with feelings, but knowing that they're there that was one of the ways that I knew that I could do this job and do it well. Now, the next semester, this is how long it takes to learn a lesson. Someone in board shorts and flip-flops came up to me at the end of class, last class of the semester. Next thing that we do is the final. And he goes, hey man, I'm not sure exactly what I'm getting in this class, but can you give me some, what I'm going to be doing here? So I looked through my records and I said, ooh, given your past performance, what you've done so far, it kind of looks like a C. And he just goes, all right, so long, see ya, dude, and then gone. So yes.
Yeah,
And
I've had a few of those myself.
we can add together the performance.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Well, there's two ends. Yes, I passed, and yes, you passed, and I'm not going to see you next semester.
Yeah.
That's sort of on that's one of those private things again. That's sort of on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So, third question up here. Nice segue. I'm a part of your family, so how did we all react to you becoming a teacher?
Yeah. So, I think of our family, right? And I think just in general, and I guess I think of dad mostly, like I think in general at first, when I actually just got a teaching job, I think he was just like, oh, thank God. Like kind of the same way he thought when I actually graduated, because it took me a few community colleges and, some transfers. And I kind of thought the same thing. Like, oh, thank God, like I'm employed. And again, it's funny because I was thinking about it because it wasn't until dad came to my classroom. Now he'd been coming for years and kind of saw me just like barking out orders. And it was usually on a field trip. So I was like, so he came to my classroom and, I had just gotten a new student that had some social emotional needs. And so he talked to me later and he was just so touched and impressed with the way that I and was, scrouched down to her level. I mean, I wear the 3-inch heels, but I still bend all the way down to be with students, right? So he was really touched and impressed by that, which in turn, I think really, it kind of took me aback for a second. I was a little verklempt to myself when he was, telling me this. And so that did mean a lot. That's a bigger journey because that only happened like 3 or 4 years ago. So, and then Erin is always my biggest fan. She came into my classroom to help with, it was my birthday one year. So we were decorating like cookies and stuff. And after like 10 minutes, she's like, I'm pitting out. I got to get out of here. These kids are freaking me out. Because we're frosting like cupcakes and cookies. And they're like, they've got their fingers in every open hole and then they're like digging into the frosting. And
yes, imagine all the things that post-COVID you just would never ever allow anyone to do.
Right. So Erin was just like, and I'm like, oh honey, remember we wash our hands after we pick our nose. And I just kept looking, and Erin's just like, I gotta go. So she's always been like, I could never do what you do. That's so great. And then I've, from you, like the fact that we've had these conversations, like, I don't think I've said it to you till now where it's being recorded. So it's proof, but I mean, just listening to you and talking about your teaching and how you view it. I mean, we are very similar, but we are in very different environments across the country, but we are actually very similar educators. So
yeah, there's all those buzzwords like student-centered. What does that actually mean in a physics classroom? What does that, because it doesn't mean getting down on, it doesn't mean wearing spike heels and getting down to someone's level.
Right.
I mean,
it could. It really could.
It could. And, it hasn't yet.
But I believe that's after hours physics class.
So yeah, I mean, you know, our family, as far as I know, has never reacted one way or another to me becoming a teacher. And it's basically, I mean, so the reaction that I do have and sort of the cred that I do have, the slot that I've taken up in the family is all has to do with the physics, not the teaching. So there's science genius Galen. And as far as I can tell, all of that came from some random encounter that happened to me when I was in first grade. So first grade at Our Lady of Assumption, that first grade teacher must have asked some math question, and I came up with an answer that, well, was probably right, but I have no recollection of it, and it could easily have been, my own experience, it could easily have been the right answer for the wrong reason.
Right.
But the teacher was sort of on the ball for, where is a little boy who's going to answer this question? Okay, you do math in the second grade now. You're done with first grade math. You go to the second grade. And from there, I was marked as
boy genius.
For good as ill. Yeah, boy genius.
I made a cartoon about you.
Oh, good.
And I was so proud of it. And it was like a thing of honor. Like I was honoring my brother, right? So I thought it was really cool because it was boy genius and then like me. And it was because we had to write a cartoon. So I did this whole cartoon thing with the boards, and I'm so proud of it.
You did that in third grade. I know.
I took it to management, and management was like, this is horrible. You're making fun of your brother. I'm like, I really am not. Like, this is my best work. And it's like, I think it's actually cool that he's like that smart. Like, I think, but then management said, rewrite it. And then I think management just rewrote it for me.
I remember that it was a poem or something that you had to write, and you put a cartoon around it.
Yes, yeah.
Because this is the cartoon poem of my two older siblings. It's probably Sean's, I think. I copied his, but his was all about being a twin. See, so it made no sense for my context. Oopsie. And I just refused to turn it in. I took an F on that rather than get found out.
Yeah.
Nope, you can't have it. You sure? Nope. Give me an F. Give me an F. I would rather have an F. More than smart, I was stubborn.
See, now that's disappointing because I earned every F that I got. I just didn't take them. I earned them.
So
I digress.
The only people that really know what I do as an educator is Dad, because we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And what I've discovered about being an effective educator doesn't come from one semester. It doesn't come from something that I learned in formal training. It comes from a career's worth of experience now. And it's only after 20 years of working do I have any idea that I've adjusted to this career, that this is something that I've learned how to be good on the job. And part of what I do is make sure that people come through my classrooms have got a better chance of doing that, if they do wind up as someone like me teaching in a university. So no one ever said anything explicitly, but I've got 20, I mean, forget gold plated. I got 24 solid gold credentials. Got an undergraduate degree from MIT, got a PhD from Chicago, and my career has been at Cal State Long Beach. Mm-hmm. So different kind of institution. So it's an institution that, it does not have that outstanding research presence.
The wow factor.
Right. But it does have access to a bunch of really smart, hardworking people who, deserve a chance at a good life. Mm-hmm. So that issue, the sort of equity issue of taking what I learned how to do at those places and putting it at the service of sort of ordinary people in the LA basin who wound up coming through Cal State Long Beach, Dad is certainly explicitly proud of that. It's not just that I'm smart. It's
Yeah.
that smart is put at the service of sort of diversity and access and equity.
Mhm.
So,
And I think that's where that comes from when he saw me with, working with that student, because the chances of this student who had gone through some devastating family trauma, and I don't, devastating, life-changing trauma, and then just transferred to my room. For this girl to grow up and have a chance at a life, at an education, I mean, that it's going to be pushing a boulder up a hill. And so instead of shutting down her feelings and punishing her and putting her in timeout, it's, you've got some really big feelings, and let's open those up and feel them, but feel them safely, right? And I think that's the same thing that Dad saw, was like, oh, okay, wow.
yeah, I mean, so I saw that going on with this kindergarten teacher. And that, from that point forward, just the profession of teaching as it's taught in colleges of education and schools of education here and there, that is something that before I saw that, I might have been, in fact, I'll tell you, I mean, I was just dismissive of the whole thing. Like, come on, what are you doing? The main thing that you need to teach in order to teach is to know stuff. If I know stuff, I can teach stuff. I know enough physics, I can be a physics teacher. And that is absolutely wrong. That is,
yes.
That is, there's what the teacher does and there's what the students do. And if those two things aren't on a fair interaction, this is physicsy now. For every interaction, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if I'm not reacting to the teaching, so I am just this immovable boulder that affects people by doing my teaching. If I don't get affected by the teaching, they don't get affected either.
Yeah. And that's why I like teaching. That's why I knew it was for me, because it did get that feedback. It does change me. It definitely has changed me.
Yeah.
And
in a way that
reflection of like, wow, that was great, or whoa, what happened there? Like that keeps you energized. It keeps me energized, like doing this teaching thing, because I mean, it is crazy and it is hard. And sometimes it is just plain stupid. Like sometimes I'm just like, wow, this is just stupid.
Why am I doing this? I'm better than this, ain't I? Ain't I? There's Granddaddy coming right through.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's that's. I think I didn't realize that. I mean, I guess if I had thought about it a little bit more, I would have seen that connection.
Well, I tell you,
as far as like,
this kind of
humanity
career,
piece of teaching.
Exactly, it's humans interacting with humans, and then that's why teaching exists at all, and people teach their kids. But I tell you, this sort of
parents are the first and best teacher.
If we're going to put another educationism out there, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be a drinking game. This could be a drinking game. Today's we'll secret teacher phrase is
okay. To this sort of thing for an introvert, that sort of interaction, I can do it, but it wipes me out, and then I got to go be by myself for a couple hours. And I think Dad explained that's his sort of reaction to sort of glad-handing politician that a college president needs to be. Yes, he can do it, but then he needs to be alone to recharge.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely down with that. But the hardest part of the job is the fact that it is with people, and people are surprising, and they are
they can be unpredictable. I mean, they can be raw and hurtful and mean. And it took a while to realize this is not something you should take personally. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. That wasn't even just the students. That's with a lot of parents that I've dealt with. Like once
So that's why I very
pivoted,
rarely
that's
look
another
at
word.
Rate My Professor. Very rarely look at Rate My Professor.
What's that?
I very rarely look at Rate My Professor.
Oh, right.
Sorry, what was the code word that came through?
Once I pivoted.
Oh, okay.
And realized that, if I have a parent that is coming at me clearly frustrated, angry, and is upset about something that I see as this big, it has nothing to do with this thing. It has nothing to do with me. And as soon as that became into my awareness, and I would before I would, in the beginning, I would just be like, what? I'm big. Get out of my face. Like I was combative. I would meet that combat with more combat, right? Once it started to come at me and I would just go, wow. Give a little bit of understanding to say, wow, that's really hard. I'm sorry that happened to you. All the wind is out of the sail. It's a release. And then I find out what's at the root of their frustration. And now I've made a connection with them. Mm-hmm. So now when there is a hard conversation, it's now going to be 10,000 times easier, because when at first I was like butting heads, and a month later, now I have to have a hard conversation. Well, that's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was, and it's more me. It's more like, wow, that is a horrible experience. I'm sorry that happened. Like, I don't know where somebody thought that a teacher had to be like this all the time.
That's kind of like more my caricature of what my people do. I walk into a classroom, I'm going to turn my back to everybody, and you get to see a cloud of chalk dust, and then a bunch of equations appear. And then when I turn around, you'll see that I've got a bunch of scratch marks around my crotch maybe, and I did up my zipper. So eventually I will. And that's it. I'm not a human. I'm just here to give you chalk marks.
Yeah.
Or you're actual people who actually have got issues like, wow, can't make rent this month. I might have to move into someone's couch, and I've got this midterm.
Right.
No one comes to me and says, hey, can I get a break now? They just, oh my God, and then, wow, that's awful. Tell you what, until you're settled, until you've got something more stable going on, you just let me know what extra time you need.
Right.
Because, this is hard. If I can make it easier for you to put some hard work in on it, why wouldn't I do that?
Exactly. And, what does it matter? Somebody gets this and somebody gets that. And if you all get to the product, like everybody is different. Everybody does need different stuff. Like it's, that has been a big one for me.
Yeah, it's the sort of, well, we'll talk about this at a later one about how sort of
that would be episode 4,327.
We'll get there. We will get there.
Yes.
But this last question is really super interesting to me. So did you ever practice on your siblings? You ever practice teaching?
Yes. Yeah, let me just run down the whole list. It's kind of like dad in the car as he's driving, calling out for all the kids in the back,
Make sure
which ironically, Liam was the one that was left behind. And Liam is the only one that I actually practiced teaching on. But
so it's your fault.
First of all, the big boys, no, I would not touch you guys with a 10-foot pole. Like,
and we weren't going to have it either.
Where am I going trying to teach you guys? Brendan, No, he was into sports. Although there is an incident in Denver where it was a potty training incident that went horribly awry at the very end. And I lost all the money that I had earned through the whole weekend. And then Aaron scared me. I figured if I tried to pretend or play school with Aaron, like literally in 5 minutes, she would hire herself as like the superintendent, and I would be like making her bed and making her snacks and doing her homework that day for her. So literally and Liam and I, we were partners. We teamed up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember like playing school or, like playing teacher with Liam. And again, it was all about like my perception of teachers in my grade school experience was that, they had all the power, they had cool markers, and they got to be bossy. Like that's
Perfect.
that was my impression of elementary school teachers. So I was like, perfect. So I got to have all the markers and I was bossy to Liam. And he played along for a little bit, but then we said, the other thing I found out was this teaching thing is a lot of work. Like I had to stay organized. I'd sign all this paperwork, but then I'd get it all back. And I'm like,
what the hell?
This
Grading? You grade it.
This is bullshit. Let's go outside.
Play something else.
Yeah, that was the extent of my practice on the family siblings.
So I don't remember playing at formal teaching, but I did, and I'd forgotten about this, but you reminded me that I taught you how to tie your shoelaces.
Yeah.
So for myself, I discovered how to tie shoelaces because I don't really remember anyone teaching me. I remember, okay, I know how to tie the overhand knot. Now what? I remember studying a shoe thinking, I see two loops. I see two. Maybe if I just tie one of those overhand knots with the loops, hey, my shoes are tied. Okay, that's the way I'm doing it forever. Yeah. So if don't watch me tie my shoes because it's not pretty. It's not what anyone expects. It's not the double loop, pull through and done.
Right.
It's two loops, make another knot, pull tight. And
yes, you
can just recognize it. So I discovered that. And apparently I taught you. And it's like 5 minutes. It's super easy. Try it like this.
Yes, because I was terrified. I was going off to kindergarten. I'm like, I don't know how to tie my shoes. And management was like, go find somebody to help you. I was like, ugh. And I think you just sort of maybe overheard that and you're, waffling through or whatever. And you're like, oh, here, I'll show you. And then to this day, people will watch me tie my shoes and be like,
what the hell are you doing?
Well, what are you doing? And I'm like, tie my shoes. What are you doing? And I've always seen the other way. And I always thought it was like fancy, like the French way to tie your shoes.
Yeah, me too.
I thought mine was just like
a bow tie or something.
Yeah, I thought mine was just like, it gets the job done. It's, it's coach as opposed to first class.
It's American. We tie our shoes like Americans.
There you go.
But formal teaching, I do remember sitting down with Brendan when he was a senior maybe or a junior. He was going to take the Regents test and needed to study statistics. Now, statistics, I am a statistical mechanics physics person, which basically means probability and statistics are the tools that I use to do my research. And it's also super confusing. The last thing that I would want to teach anyone off the top of my head. So the secret that I learned from this is that Brendan actually knew everything he needed to know. He just needed someone to bounce some words off of while he was doing it. Oh yeah, he was great at it. He was much better than I was at it. I was confused as hell about what they were asking. Draw two aces from a, what the hell is this? Forget this crap. So I was not particularly a good teacher, but he did well on that test. But the job of the teacher isn't necessarily to do for, say, in this case, Brendan, being able to do the problems.
You were just reaffirming what he already had. And sometimes that's what teaching is.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that worked out great. Not only did I get a chance to spend some time with Brendan, which was, great. there was a little marker right there that, and I didn't recognize it at the time. That's something I came back to well after the fact. There is a little marker that, yeah, there's something about you that's fit for this kind of work. Let's see, other teaching with siblings. Those are the two successful examples I've got. So the disasters, well, okay, I'll tell you one. I tried to teach Erin to walk when she was 9 months old, and she could hold her head up, but definitely not standing. So I'm holding her arms up, like draping her arms up.
So she's like a gorilla.
She's like a gorilla, and she's wearing slippery footy jammies, and it's a hardwood floor. So
of course.
I'm picking the venue perfectly. Okay, and I'm, the way I normally would do it, super wordy. Okay, now you take one foot and you bend it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, ready, go. Boom, head trauma right back there. So Erin's on the ground, her head smacked back, crying her eyes out, and I bolt. I just leave like, boom, I'm gone. Someone will find you and take care of you. And they did. So,
yeah.
That instinct to like leave a problem that can't be solved and let someone else deal with it, that's with me to this day.
Yeah. That's, yeah. Well, I want to say that Liam maybe did come back to me because he wanted to learn some dance moves. I'm going to say this is in San Diego because he was going to go to a dance.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this. He was never coming to me for dance moves.
It was the 80s kind of thing.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
As long as I can keep both my feet on the ground.
I don't think I ever. Yeah, Erin. No. Erin, the only thing I did with Erin academically was that she said, your voice sounds exactly like management. I need you to call up tutor and tell her that Erin's all good. She's set with her French. I'm like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And then she discovered that we have very similar voices on the phone. So she's like, okay, now I want you to pretend you're me and call up the French teacher and say, I'm all set. I'm all good. Don't need this anymore. And I'm like, Erin, if she says one thing in French, I'm going to be like,
now see,
Frenchie?
That's what we learned as kids, was how to think 3 steps down a scam. Where was it going to go wrong?
Yeah. Yes. I learned to do that.
Well, through hard experience, that's true, but we did learn.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They thought they got all the candy that I might have taken from a candy store and might have gotten caught. But I ended up with a lot of candy in my coat that made it home because I snuck it in the pocket.
Candy that I have yet. So I have yet to eat a chunky, and I'm waiting. I haven't bought one. I got this thing about going to buy the candy that I was going to steal. Like I can't buy the chunky. I can't buy the Gold Rush bubble gum. It's just ruined.
I got nabbed on the Gold Rush. It came in a real burlap sack back in the day.
Right. You get enough of those things, you can.
That was the last. I got greedy. See, I got greedy because I was like, oh, just one more. And then bingo, bam. Next thing I know, oof.
Okay, so the rest of that story will be made clear, it is a story with which I am familiar and have my own side.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, we'll tell what happened when we got home.
Okay.
After management doled out the punishment. All right. Well, I think this was a great first podcast / YouTube channel, like extraordinaire.
Whatever it is, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be all that much edited. So
I really don't think so.
yeah, this is easy.
Right?
And I love it. So
It's got to be good.
it is. I'm going to stop the recording here.
Okay.